So I will start off by talking about DeAndre Swift, who is still, I think, a divisive player. And it was certainly a divisive player for the two of us coming in here. So we came into this offseason on polar opposite sides of DeAndre Swift. And this is where I already did the shot at the top of the episode. So now I get to reclaim some things here by acknowledging two things, actually. One, DeAndre Swift, we can call him a bust because his ADP was RB8, and he did not finish close to RB8 in points per game or overall. However, I have to acknowledge, before his injury in the season, he looked a lot better. And he was definitely a different player coming back off of the injury. I don't victory lap injuries unless we're, doctors out here trying to forecast what the injuries will be. I think that's silly. That's nonsense. But in the grand scheme of things, Jamal Williams did what I thought Jamal Williams would do. So Jamal Williams was the goal line back, obviously with 17 touchdowns. That was his role. DeAndre Swift wasn't getting any of that. I think he had like 2 touchdowns, something like that, something crazy low. He was utilized in the passing game a little bit more than I thought he would be with all of the competition that was there now. I said last year, his only competition for targets, Amon-Ra St. Brown, which was like halfway through the season where he finally got good. This year, he had more guys that were going to be competing, although Hockenson gets traded midseason and kind of throws a little bit of wrench into that idea as well. That said, he didn't really benefit that much from Hockenson being gone. Not as much as I thought he would. I thought there would be a tail, a bell curve, essentially, like started off good, reverse bell curve, I guess. Starts good, kind of meh in the middle, and then comes up at the end because of that trade. Didn't really happen that way. He was still fine. He had usable games, but he was nowhere near worth that RB8, threshold that you had to draft him for. Dustin, as the guy who was more on him this year, would you hold this against him? Would you hold the year against him? Do you think it was injuries? Are you back in on him for next year?
Will I be in on him? Yes. Do I think I think he's going to be more of a high-end RB2 than a RB1. I think he's going to be right on that fringe this year, as opposed to kind of like a solidly drafted RB1. So if he's still going in like that 7, 8, 9 range, might be a little too rich for me, especially with some of these rookies we've got coming in that are going to be immediate impacts this year. Yeah, it's disappointing. Although, I mean, with Jamal Williams doing what he did and the number of touchdowns he has, I mean, obviously a career high. I think he set the Lions season record for rushing touchdowns. So while he did that, I mean, that's really all he was used for, was goal line, more or less. So do I expect him to score that many touchdowns next year? No. Will that necessarily go to Swift? No, it won't necessarily. I mean, there could be another guy. And I think Jamal Williams is a free agent after this year as well. So he might be out of the picture 100%. I mean, and if that's the case and they just bring in another guy to be the backup, that might not nearly be as talented as Jamal. I mean, we don't know. So I think it kind of depends how this offseason goes. And I know that's kind of a cagey answer and not what you want to hear, but it really does depend what this backfield shakes out to be. Because like I said, if he returns, yeah, Swift is not going to be in my top 12, just based on what happened this year. If Jamal leaves and they don't bring in someone that's super competent, or I guess someone that would maybe fill that goal line role, maybe I'd bump him up a few spots into that top 12. But he's going to be right on that cusp. Definitely not drafting him where I did this year, though.